And that's the last one of them. Goodbye, Mr. John Warhammer. I had terrible time with you. Well, okay, I may be exaggerating a little. My time with Warhammer was actually pretty fine for the most part. Like many, I got into the hobby in 2020 after years of consuming Warhammer content through video games and lore videos. My army of choice was orcs, because apart from being homicidal maniacs, they are funny and they just don't care. One could say they are just chill guys of 40k. At least people on the internet told me so. I started collecting, learned to paint and enjoyed it very much. Later I found out I am able to apply what I learned from mini-painting in painting regular paintings. And thus my very own brand of outsider art was born. Prints on sale on Etsy, by the way. Link in description. Buy my art, buy my art, buy my art, buy my art. You want it so bad. But anyway, I had my first few Warhammer games and I didn't enjoy it that much. But I kept playing in the hopes I would get better once I got hold of the rules better, or I would just add new stronger units into my army. When the 10th edition came, I started to feel fatigued while trying to adjust my army to work in this new version of the game. It may sound silly, but the thing that broke me was that units of Gretchen had to include Runherds now. I didn't need them to include in previous edition, and in the end I didn't even muster enough willpower to assemble them. The other thing was that I wasn't able to keep forgiving GW its business practices. Unreasonable pricing, overprotecting their IP, always changing the meta, and BlackRock's executive decisions seeping into the products and robbing it of its very soul. But don't take it from me, your simple normie hobby tourist. Listen to what young Kanye said about it way back in the day.
GW doesn't care about its customers.
Yep, he really said that. Trust me, bro, no need to Google that. So, 2 years ago I painted my last Warhammer model and didn't touch the game ever since. My models were just sitting in the boxes taking up space, and more I realized they no longer bring joy to my heart. So I just decided to sell them. In the meantime, I found my new obsession in Turnip 28, the game that feels way more rewarding to me. But speaking of Warhammer, during my time with it I developed a weakness for its older models. I personally think that 2000s were the peak of Warhammer design and Orky design too. I collected a few resin and metal pieces from this era, and I didn't have the heart to sell them. They are just too perfect. I also used them for few of my favorite conversions, like this lore-accurate Gaskell tracker. I also learned to love 2nd edition designs, even though I didn't collect or paint that many models from this era. But that is going to change soon. You see, my weakness for older models took better of me recently when I discovered Old Orc Dreadnought while browsing the Troll Trader. I didn't even know this thing existed. I thought we had Rogue Trader Dread, and then this Metal Dreadnought was released for 2nd edition to replace cardboard cutout from the starter set. I was astonished. So I did what any reasonable person would do, and I impulsively bought it. Usually, these bad boys are very expensive, but I got mine with hefty discount because it was missing his feet, top hatch and the pilot. But that is something a handy miniature model guy like me can deal with. So let's do it! After disassembling the model and cleaning it from thick old glue, I was left with these parts. Oh, the glorious lead! If this video gets 10,000 likes, I am going to buy another one and lick it. I filed the mold lines the best I could, straightened the bent parts, and also pinned this little peck to one of the claws because I accidentally snapped it when I was disassembling it. Then I glued the thing together trying to copy the pose and the weapon arrangement of the cardboard cutout dreadnought. When trying to glue two parts of the body together, I just couldn't close them shut. The large gap was running along the whole body. I wasn't patient nor strong enough to press the parts together and close the gap, So I just filled it with green putty and milliput. I hope the paint job will sufficiently hide it. This is essentially the model I bought. The real challenge starts now, as I have to rebuild the missing parts. But don't worry, I have a few ideas. From what I learned, walkers in 2nd edition didn't use bases. But I want this model to have something firm to stand on. My plan is to grab 60mm base, glue some feet on it, and then stick brass rods through them and pin the model. I have the base, but what about those feet? Well, fortunately, I have some kilocans parts lying around, and although their feet aren't exact match for 2nd edition dreadnought, they will do just okay. I chose this variant. It has 3 little mechanical toes and 1 big one, which I don't like at all. I would like all its toes to be the same size, so I cut off the big one and decided to utilize the magic of blue stuff molds. Casting these parts was pretty easy since they require only 1 part mold to turn out okay. See? Piece of cake. Now just to glue toes into place and Dreadnought's mechanical feet are complete. I glued them to the base, drilled some holes and pinned the Dreadnought, all according to plan. For the next step, I have to figure out how I am going to recreate the pilot. I took out some of my org bits to decide what to use. I tried some newer old org bodies, but they barely fit inside. What did the trick was this old org warbiker torso, which I recasted with blue stuff mold. I had just one small problem with his visage. I don't think he looks proper orky. Upon further analysis of his design, I determined that it is caused by his chin not being wide enough. To fix this, I used some milliput. I wanted my pilot to have similar pose to the original Dreadnought's pilot. That means his hands are visible on the sculpt, holding levers of some sort. I wanted to cut up some original Rogue Trader or 2nd edition arms for this, but considering how rare and expensive they are, I have just used some milliput recasts. The original pilot's shoulders are bare though, and the old orc arms have sleeves. So for his shoulders, I sliced up some newer old orc arms, just enough so I could fit the pilot into the dread when they are glued. The original pilot also has this mechanical eyepiece, and this fella also has an eyepiece. So I did a little bit of plastic surgery on him and glued the eyepiece on pilot's head. Then I added some cables using plastic tubes and green stuff, and the pilot is completed. Now for the hatch. With this one I had to get more creative. I was on the hunt for something in the right shape for days. But eventually I realized that the answer to my problem was in front of me all the time. Behold the humble citadel paint pot. Its lid is perfect for this once I give it a little trim. The material is not so easy to work with though. But little by little I sliced off the excess parts of the lid until it was the right size to be the Dreadnought's hatch. To recreate the inside of the hatch, I used plastic art. I cut out few circles and glued them together to make them thicker. Then I stick them to bigger circle and glued the whole thing to the hatch. When everything was glued firmly together, I smoothed the edges with a nail file. Then I cut small strips of plastic art, glued them on the top of the hatch, and then added some cut pieces of plastic tube to represent little rivets. To attach the hatch to the body more easily, I glued a piece of larger plastic tube to it to represent the hinge. Now we don't want this dread to be all unhinged, don't we? After spending an hour laughing on my great joke, I realized that my dreadnought is finally done. Now is the time for a quick paint job. To make my life easier, I gave the dread black prime. The pilot got white prime, of course. The first color of choice was Army Painter Pure Red. I painted the claws and various bits around the guns and the body. I gave each part 2 or 3 coats until I was happy with the coverage. It is a very nice red color, but I wanted something deeper, so I painted over it with Blood Angel's red. 2 reds better than 1, I guess. Then I used lead belcher for pistons, claws bits, for little rivets and various bits here and there. Balthazar gold to break up the metallics and make them more interesting. Dreadnought's visor is also painted bronze color. Skeleton bone was used on little skull emblems and also on horns on the bull's head. To make these horns more fancier, I used red contrast paint to add gradient effect on them. Then I used Army Painter Strong Tone very selectively on the red parts and washed the metallic parts with dark tone. After that, I applied subtle edge highlights on the reds and blacks and also highlighted the metallics. And now the part I was dreading the most, checker pattern. I sketched the checkers with grey color and then started filling it with pale sand. If I made a mistake, I fixed it with black color. Kinda cool checkers, I think. Just don't look at them from too close. Now for the pilot. Nothing too fancy. Gadripa flesh for skin and colors I have already used for other bits. Now wash it and highlight it, and he's done. I also used blue color with white to create glowy effect on the visor. Almost done, but model like this would never be truly complete without a big banner. I made mine with piece of plastic art. Freehand is not one of my strengths though, but I have already gone too far. Half-assing the finale of this project is not an option. It is not that complicated after all. Just background, some orky glyphs. Piece of cake. Considering the base, I hope old Hammer purists will forgive me, but Goblin Green is not really my vibe. I decided to go for a Vallejo English uniform. It feels like the right color for Barren Wasteland, which is setting more fitting for Space Ork model. The whole base was shaded with strong tone, and then I added some pigment powder for more dusty look. Also stained the Dread's legs a little to blend him better to his environment. And he's done. This little rebuild / restoration was quite fun. While making this video, I rediscovered my love for Warhammer 40k and learned to appreciate older models even more. There is something about 2nd edition aesthetics that tickles completely different kinds of fancy. But anyway, did you know that to feel Dreadnought in 2nd edition, you needed also Mechaniac and Paintboy in your army? Well, gotta paint them too. It just wouldn't feel right without them. I painted my Mechaniac in Evil Sun's colors and Paintboy in Dead Skull's colors for variety. Also made them fitting banners. Now my Dreadnought can be legally fielded. Well, not exactly. You see, he is a support choice. And in 2nd edition, you also must have troops in your army before you can add support to it. So let's add some boys and grots so he is not so lonely. And all those boys should have an op to lead them. As you see, we have some proper war forming over here. And every war needs a war boss to lead it. So here is one. Well, I admit this project got out of hand a little, but in a most positive way. I really enjoy seeing these pieces of history together. And who knows, maybe this little army will grow in the future. And maybe I'm gonna have to make another small 2nd edition force so they can clash on the battlefield one day. I don't want my new orcs to die of boredom, you know. But for now, these are just plans for the far future. Once again, I really don't know what my next video is going to be about. Though I promise it is going to be a banger. Until it is out, you can give me a follow on my Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Also, if you are new here, go watch my other videos. They can be really educational sometimes. At least I hope so. And by the way, if you love these fun little videos of mine so much you are capable of simping for me, I have recently set a page on coffee.com. You can tip me there. Maybe it will be you who will help fund my next foolish endeavor of a hobby project. And that is all for today. You can go do your own hobby stuff now. Bye!